hole in the roof. In those days they had skylights without window panes. The windows in the days of the Gemara, they were open holes. They would have like a wooden board that they could put to cover up the window for the wind, but generally it was just an open hole. So he saw there was a skylight in the middle of the roof. There was a hole in the middle of the roof, and he saw, this goat saw through this hole chushla. So he saw all sorts of peeled grains. So he had an appetite. So dagar nafal mi'igul ar. So he jumped through the hole and he got to the ground. Now they brought this jumping goat to Rav Ashi to ask, is it a treifa? He said, Adam Rav Huna, this idea of Rav Huna, that if you have an animal on the roof, and then when you come, you find it off the roof, you're not worried that maybe there was internal bleeding. Is it because an animal came down on a wall and had something to climb on? It had something to hold on to as it comes down. Here there was nothing for it to hold on to because it came through a skylight. Maybe it's what I said. Animals make all sorts of calculations. Okay, this is this far, it needs this amount of energy. And it jumps in the right way in order to be safe when it falls. Here also it calculated, and it jumped in a way to be safe when it fell. Rav Ashi said the reason is Mishum Dam Nafsha. Animals make a calculation, how much energy to be able to fall in the right way. This one also made a calculation to fall in the right way, and therefore it is kosher. That was the psak.
Don't they have to do the shech and really open him up and to see what?
No, would you even be able to do the shech? Could you do the shech? You don't want to take a risk.
What do you mean by you don't? Amen. But if it's internal or something inside got really torn apart, the only way you know is when you after you shech it.
Maybe maybe that's why Art School calls it a concussion of limbs. That it's not even something that you could see. It's just that the brain was shaken this way and that way, and things were shaking, but you couldn't necessarily see it.
So that automatically, when the animal falls down, most likely is treifa.
Correct. The animal that was pushed off. An animal pushed off of a roof, then you have to worry that it's a treifa.
The animal comes in by his own calculation.
Correct. Then not. Then the animal knows to fall in a way that's not going to mess it up too badly, to land in the right way.
And if you cut it right away, you wouldn't know if they're bruising.
Yeah. Now, Hahu Imrasa, there was a sheep, the Hava Bei Rav Chaviva, in the house of Rav Chaviva. The Avushadran Kar Ayu Basraisa. It was schlepping its rear legs behind it. It was dragging its legs. So they were worried, is that treifa? Rav Yemer said, no, not necessarily. Doesn't mean that there's a problem in the spinal cord. Hi, Shagruna Nakta. This is an animal that has some illness to its thighs. Because of that, it's dragging its legs, but it's not a treifa. Ravina said, why do you do that? Why do you assume it's not a treifa? Maybe there is some severing of the spinal cord. That's why the back legs aren't going well. So, but good. They actually checked the spinal cord. They found that the spinal cord was like what Ravina had said. It had been severed. Even so, Ilchas is like Rav Yemar. What's likely is that there is some illness to the thighs, and that's why it's dragging its legs. It's not likely for the spinal cord to be severed. And since it's not likely for the spinal cord to be severed, we don't worry that that's what in fact is going on. So now going back to the issue of an animal that suffers a major blow, and do we assume that therefore maybe there was concussion of the limbs, and therefore it's not kosher. So Rav Huna said, if two animals are in the midst of a wrestling match and they're pushing each other, even though they are colliding with each other, we're not worried that maybe the limbs inside were all disturbed. Because Afal Gav, the Midvu, the Kaimu, even though they seem to be upset and in pain, it's just added heat that they have because of all the blows. But we don't assume that they have risuk evar. However, inaful ara, but if animal A knocked over wrestling animal B, then vadei chayshina. Then we're worried that through the blow, the concussion, there was all sorts of internal damage, and it's a treifa. Don't check.
Even if it didn't fall from a great distance, it just knocked it over?
That's right, even though it's not a great distance. It's just its own height. But it was knocked over by something else. So it's not as if it could prepare itself, right? When we said if it jumps, right, it prepares itself. But when this guy is fighting with this guy, he thinks he's the one who's going to knock over the other one. He doesn't think he's going to be knocked over. So he gets knocked over, he's not ready for that blow, so he may have suffered the concussion.
And Rabbi, is it treifa because we assume one of the 18 things occurred, or is it treifa for some other reason?
I think the treifa is this thing, risuk evarim, the shattering together of the limbs.
So both of them are treifa, or one?
No, the one that fell. The one that fell to the ground.
The one that's standing is still is
sumo wrestler, he's kosher lepesach. So Amar Rav Menashe. Rav Menashe said like this: these sheep, these rams, stolen by thieves. The ganvi, that thieves stole them. Again, we're not worried that there was risuk evar, because apparently a thief comes in, he throws the ram out of this house to another place to then run with it. My time or why? When he throws them to fall on their motnayim, I think on their thighs, right? But on their side, on their loins, right? They throw them on their sides. Because he wants them to run ahead. So he doesn't want them to get wounded so that they won't be able to run. Now, what about if the thief stole the rams and the video camera set off the alarm and people started screaming, and so the thief threw the ram back and then he ran away? Adrinu, if he threw it back, because then we're certainly worried, because he's throwing it, he's not caring how to throw it, he's not going to throw it on its loins, he'll throw it in a way that there will be risuk evar. However, that's only true if he returns it out of fear that he's going to be caught. But if he becomes about tshuva suddenly, so then people want to do tshuva in the right way. He doesn't want to return it in a damaged form. He's going to return it in a good form. He'll throw it back on its loins, it'll still be able to walk, it won't be risuk evar. Or another issue about risuk evar. A guy takes a stick. Hikal Rosha. He wants to hit the animal on its head. And it went all the way to its tail. It was a full blow, full body blow. Al-Znavi was trying to hit the animal on its tail. It went all the way to the head with the blow. Or he puts the stick down on top of the entire spine. And we're not worried about any type of limbs knocking against each other, or chulios, or vertebrae knocking off, because this is a lesson about the power of a blow. When you come down with a stick along the whole length of a spine, the blow is diffused along the entire length. However, Ishalim chutra apalga de gaba. But if he brought down the entire the head of the stick just in the middle of the back, then chayshina, then we're worried that since all of the pressure, all of the power is on that concentrated on that top of the stick, then we're worried that it might have broken the spine in two, and then already we're worried of risuk evarim. Or yispe kitra, if along the stick there are all sorts of knobs, there's knots, there used to be branches that were broken off, so that's already a lot of blowing, then chayshina, then we're worried. And if he hit the stick in the middle of its half, again, middle of its neck, middle of its spine, middle of its back, again, chayshina, we're worried that there could be risuk evarim. So if the stick only gets till half this way, if the stick deliberately was brought to this half, on this way, not this way, but this way, or if the stick has, knobs on it, so there are all sorts of pressure points along the stick, then we are worried to risuk evarim. All right, so now we move from risuk evarim of an animal being thrown off of a roof. We had risuk evarim of the animal that's hit with a stick. And now we deal with a new question, is there risuk evarim? Is there pressure on all the internal organs through the animal being born and having to go through the birthing canal? That's a narrow spot. Maybe that's also a risuk evarim. Rav Nachman said, Beis Harechem, the womb, ain't mishum risuk evarim. The animal coming out through the Beis Harechem, that's not called any worry of risuk evarim. Amalei Rav Nachman. So Rav said, I can prove to you, Rav Nachman, that you're right from the following. Tanya the Messiah, I'm going to bring you a brisa that's going to be a proof to you that birth of an animal is not such a great pressure like, falling off of a roof, being thrown off of a roof, or being knocked down by a fellow wrestling animal, or being hit on the back with a big stick. It's normal, it's natural. The animal has room coming out. What's the proof? From the halachos of Tumah. You learn, Tinok ben Yom Echad, you can have a baby 1 day old. Now starting Nun Aleph on the base. And Metaba Beziva, and if he has a discharge of gonorrhea, of Zov, it is Tumah Zov. That Ziva is Zov. Now 1 second. That if when there's a birth, since there's pressure to come out of the canal, the pressure of coming out of the birth canal, being all squeezed out, can damage the baby as it's coming out. There could be all sorts of internal concussions. So if there's a problem of risuk evarim, so then why do you say that the discharge is ziva? It could come so. This might be an example where we know that if the discharge of ziva is because of an illness, it's not a zav. It has to be zov mibsaro. He has to have a zov. He has to have a flow of the ziva because of his own flesh, but not a zov because of something forcing it, because of an illness. If his internal limbs are all damaged, there's an illness here. That's why there's the zov dripping out. It's not coming from his flesh. It shouldn't be tameh. It should say here, so maybe the case of a baby with zov is not a baby through a normal childbirth. It was a C-section. It came out through the stomach. They took Rashi says a poison, but you can say a scalpel. They opened up the stomach and they took out the animal. So it didn't go through the birthing canal. It came out through the stomach. So it was a very beautiful baby that was never crushed. And maybe a baby that comes through the birthing canal gets in fact crushed. And once it's crushed, maybe you are choshesh, maybe it's a treifa. And maybe the discharges are not on its own. It's from the illness of it being crushed. Tashma, maybe this is a proof about whether birth crushes the organs of the baby coming out because it's so tight. Tashma, come here, proof. Hilchos Yom Tov. We learned, Egel Shenol be Yom Tov, a calf born on Yom Tov. Shochten also be Yom Tov. You're allowed to shechten on Yom Tov, and it's not considered muktzah. Why? Because as Yom Tov was entering, the mother could have been shechted. So now that it's born, it also can be shechted. So 1 second, what do you mean it can be shechted? If we're worried about risuk evarim, you can't shecht it. Maybe it's a treifa. Maybe it was crushed. How can you shecht it? You have to wait a couple of days, see if it walks. You can't just shecht it. So you see that, no, you're allowed to shecht it because apparently Rav Nachman's right. A birth through the birthing canal is not going to crush anything. The Gemara said it's not a proof. How do you know that this is a case of a birth through the birthing canal? Maybe the Mishnah is talking about where an animal was taken out through the stomach. It was a C-section. But maybe the birthing canal does mess things up. Tashma, maybe this is the proof. This is the third proof we learned about Bechor. We know that if you have an animal that's a Bechor, it's holy. If it has a Balmum, if it's a Bechor with a blemish, it's like a holy animal that was redeemed. So we learned the Shabbat, everybody agrees, that if a Bechor is born on Yom Tov with its mum, and now that's considered something which isn't muktzah either. Because before it was born, you could shech the mother, and then it would be kosher. That's during Bein Hashmashos. Now that it's born, you can also shecht it, because it has a mum, it has a blemish, so you can shecht it. Right. Now 1 second, if you're going to tell me, what do you mean you can shecht it? Maybe there's a blemish you can't see, that as it was born, it was crushed, because it was coming through the birthing canal, so there was risuk evarim. So you must say, there is no such thing as risuk evarim in birth. So you say, no, it's not a proof, because here it also came out through the wall. And here too it came out through the wall. But derech dofen mi kodesh. But if it comes out through a wall, is it even going to be kadosh? Rabbi Yochanan said, Reb Shimon agrees. That an animal born through the wall, in regards to kachim, sheno kadosh, it's not holy. So Gemara says, I think the earliest time for Taliesin film is like 6:21, 6:22. Oh, we have it here. Today is Thursday, January 17th?
24.
6:24. Okay. So when it says, Hacham Mayaskin, and here what are we talking about? Kagon Shehifris Al Gabe Karka. The animal maybe in fact was born through the birthing canal. Is that a proof that there's no such thing as Risuk Evarim? No. Could be that through a birthing canal there is Risuk Evarim. But this animal pushed its feet, pushed its hooves strongly onto the ground. So the fact that it's pushing its feet strongly onto the ground, that's a proof that this animal didn't have Risuk Evarim. But maybe it is possible that an animal coming through the birthing canal, because it's so tight, does have Risuk Evarim. We don't in fact have a proof to Rav Nachman's lesson. Yeah, question.
Rabbi, first of all, when they do the C-section for an animal, the mother automatically is not kosher like Pesach anymore, right?
Why?
Because they tear the stomach, they,
Maybe.
Okay.
Depends which stomach they tore. Yeah.
So the bleeding involved here,
Okay.
there.
We're not talking about the mother, we're talking about the child here.
Okay, this number one. Number two, when an animal is born, didn't we learn that they cannot do shech on that animal on the first day of his birthday? When he's born.
That's only for a korban.
That's only for korban. But for consumption is okay. Is allowed.
That's right. Yeah, korban you have to wait 7 days. Only on the 8th day can it be a korban.
But most likely the mother is C-section is for a draper,
It could be. Yeah, but it had to be cut to get to it.
Yeah, but it remains alive.
But the
He's saying that he
the
thinks
blood,
that
the bleeding.
you have to look at the
holes
anatomy
in it,
where the
hole in the
rechem
stomach,
is. What holes have to be cut through to get to it.
OBGYN.
Rav Nachman. And Rav Nachman taught another lesson. We learned that an animal that was, dropped from a roof, then we're worried, our Mishnah says, for Risuk Evarim. Says Rav Nachman, Beveis Hamit B'chayim, if the animal was in the slaughterhouse and it was knocked over, Ein Bo Mishum Risuk Evarim, then we're not worried for possible Risuk Evarim. Because we're going to see in a second, is in a slaughterhouse, the animal sees what's going, they're knocking this one over, they're knocking that one over, so when they come to it, it resists, and because it resists, the internal organs are not going to be all, suddenly in a concussion because they were knocked over. Because it goes down step by slowly, because it's resisting. There was in fact a story with an ox, the Nafa, that in the slaughterhouse they knocked it over. And they heard, the sound of its push. It was wow, it was like boom. And nevertheless, Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Shmuel Bar Marta went into the place where they were selling the meat from this animal. And Shakam Shufri, he says, I want to get the best of this meat. This is kosher meat. I'm the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan said to him, how do you know such a thing that it's kosher? Why aren't you worried if Risuk Evar? He said, this is what Rav said, that when the animal sees that they're knocking down other animals and they're about to slaughter him, see, part of Noates, he sticks his nails tough into the ground, until he gets down to the ground. So in other words, he goes down slowly. He's really resisting it, and therefore there's no Risuk Evarim. There's no, sudden, shaking together of all the internal organs to make a concussion that would be a treifa. All right, another story. Let's say an animal fell off of a roof. But Rav Yehuda said the name of Rav, Amda. It then got up and stood by its own strength. Now, the earliest time for Talis and Tefillin is 6:24. So it fell off the roof and it got up by its own strength. And you don't have to wait 24 hours to make sure that there's no Risuk Evarim. It's getting up on its own strength. That's enough of a proof that there was no Risuk Evarim.
Do we normally, Rabbi, if we wait 24 hours, that proves that there's no...
Yeah, that was the Mishnah. Yeah. But Bedika Vadei Baya. But even though we don't need to wait, if it was shechted, you do need to check it to make sure that, it didn't have a vertebrae dislodged, or that the spinal cord wasn't severed, or that the majority of the ribs weren't broken, because it did fall. Even though it could stand up, you have to check those things. But if it walked after it fell, you don't need to check the rib cage, because the rib cage clearly wasn't all broken. It's finally healthy. Barashi said, whether it's this one that stood up on its own strength after it fell, or this one that it walked, still needs to have an internal check. If it put out its front arm just to get up, even though it didn't stand up, it's already kosher without the 24 hours. If it uprooted its back leg to walk, even though it didn't actually walk, it's also enough that it doesn't need the 24 hours. If Chisda said, if it strengthened itself in order to stand up, even though it didn't actually stand, that's also enough, and it doesn't need any more. Okay, skipping the parentheses. Amar Ameimar Mishmei Rav Dimi min Harda. Ameimar said the name of Rav Dimi from the Harda. Nefula she'amru tzricha b'dika. When we say that an animal that fell, you still need to check it. Kineged bnei me'ayin. Doesn't mean you have to check the whole thing. It just means that you check the area of the intestines. You check the outer stomach. You check the small intestines. You don't check everything. Marzucha said, no, we say differently. This is what we say in the name of Rav Papa. You have to check the entire area where there's the cavity. You have to check the whole area.
What are you looking for? I thought you know that it's just some damage to the internal to the lens.
Questions which are we just worried that because of a fall the outer stomach tears and the intestines got a hole? Or maybe we're worried about more. Worried
So it's
because
not
of a
enough food anymore, but it's something else?
No, maybe the rib cage broke. So you have to keep checking. The whole area has to be checked. Everything has to be checked.
Okay, normally you don't have to check those items.
Right. Because most of the animals aren't a trefa, so you don't need to check. Huna Mar Breder of Nachman Rav Ashi, Huna the son of Rav Nechemia said to Rav Ashi, Siman in my, when an animal fell, do you need to check also the windpipe and the trachea and the esophagus, the windpipe and the food pipe to make sure that they were not dislodged? Amalei said, no. Siman in Kashim Hain, Eitzel Nefila. The pipes, they're very strong, they're very tough, even in case of a fall. And therefore, you don't need to check them. You can assume that they were not dislodged. Okay, Bezrat Hashem will continue at this point tomorrow. Rabbi Chananya ben Akashi Omer Ratza Kadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakos Yisrael Leficha Chibal Lem Torah Mitzvah Shenem Adonai Chavetz L'Man Tzidko Yagdil Torah V'Yadir. Amen.
Amen. Amen.